comes all the way across the room to greet me like this. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, that's nice. People don't want to smile because they're hard. Oh yeah. You're thugs, huh? Gangster. You're rough. Smile, people, smile. You think I came all the way from the US so a bunch of kids can just frown at me? Smile. The thug mentality is all over the place. These thug Muslims. Assalamu alaikum. MashaAllah. Smile, people. The Prophet ﷺ said that smiling in the face of your brother is a charity. You get reward for that. Look how many smiles you missed so far. Thousands of them. That's thousands of reward. So smile, that's number one. Number two, I want to remind everybody why we're here. We're not here so we can take part in the Islamic event for the year. Or I did my Islamic event for this month. We're here so we can learn something, so we can go and change. We're here so we can apply what we learn. We're not just here to listen, this talk and see what that guy looks like and listen to, my superb jokes. Yeah? And then just go home. We're here so we can change. So, I was given this topic of overcoming academic challenges. And you know why I was given that topic, yeah? Everybody know why? Because I'm an A student. I'm an A student. When I was in school, my teacher would always tell me, hey, where's your homework? Hey, what's in your lunchbox? Hey, stop doing that. So I always knew I was an A student. See how great that joke was? Excellent, excellent. The reason this topic came about is that a lot of young men and women in this community do not take their education seriously. They don't take school seriously, they don't take classes seriously. And I asked, what is the problem? They said the problem, people sit together in groups, they laugh, they joke, they skip class a lot, they get very, very bad grades, they don't care, even to the point where the counselors don't care. I heard of some students going to speak to a counselor will look at your grades, see their D's, F's, and C minuses and say, well, why don't you learn to do something with your hands? Why don't you learn to do something with your hands? Not that there's anything wrong with that, not that that's demeaning. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you're earning an honest living. If you become a carpenter, if you become a plumber, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But we have to understand a couple of things. First of all, one of the thinkers, he was asked about the future of a nation. You know what he said to them? He said, show me their educational system and I'll tell you what their future will look like. Obviously, he's not saying he's going to predict the future, but he says that from how they study and how serious their educational system is, we can see what they're going to do for themselves in the future, what the new generation will do. And when you keep skipping class and you don't care about your grades, what does that say about the future of Muslims in Canada or the future of Muslims in the West in general? What that means, and again, we're not saying there's anything wrong or demeaning about the jobs that I'm going to mention. But what that means is that other people will have the ones in charge of the country. The lawmakers will be from other groups. The politicians will be from other groups. The people who are in charge of positions and in offices and companies will be from other groups. And what are we going to do for them? We're going to be serving these other groups. Now, is this the future you want for the Muslims in Canada like 30 years from now? That every other group, they're in charge of businesses, they're in charge of government, they're in charge of everything in education. What are we doing? We're providing them. We do work for them. We build their houses, we fix their cars, we unplug their plumbing systems. Now there's nothing wrong, nothing haram about that or nothing demeaning about that. But is this what we want for ourselves? Is this what we want our community to be? So you have that opportunity. Some of us, our parents, they didn't have these opportunities, and then they're doing these types of work, this type of work, so you can get a good education, so you don't have to do it. It's such a shame that your father breaks his back doing manual labor. and he's sick, he still has to work. So he can provide you with a good education, and what do? Skip class, and then get D's, and then what? I mean, is that fair to your parents? Is that fair to yourself? Is that fair to your community? Is that fair to your ummah? Wallahi, it's not. It's not at all. So, the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us to aim high. Always, he taught us to aim high. He even taught the man, he says, when you ask Allah, ask for Firdaus, the highest level. Aim high. Ask for the highest level. Why ask for the lowest level? Have you seen anyone make a dua, oh Allah, let me be that last man to go out of the hellfire mentioned in the hadith? Because he gets good paradise in the end, but that's also the lowest level. Do you say, oh Allah, make me that person? No. You ask for the highest level of paradise. You aim high. So with everything else, you aim high. All right. I want to tell you about someone that I know personally. I always tell all my students about this person. I know him personally. He's not a fictional character. We're going to call him Dr. H, just so as not to reveal his secret identity, because he's a superhero at night as well. All right, he's not, but you guys are asleep. That's the problem. I know you sat from one lecture to another, but try to bear with me, because this is important. So, Dr. H, doctor, so he has a PhD. He's got a couple of master's degrees. He speaks, reads, and writes English way beyond the average person. Superb. His English, absolutely superb. Written, spoken, everything. And his Arabic is way beyond the Arabic person. Superb Arabic. Reading, writing, poetry, everything. And he speaks Malay as well. Anyone know where they speak Malay? Malaysia, very good. He speaks French, excellent reading, writing. I mean, no, not like he just says bonjour and that's it, but he really speaks excellent French. And he speaks Spanish, reading, writing. I mean, he can write literature in Spanish. And 3 years ago, when I met him, he was learning, teaching himself to speak Hebrew. Now, I kind of guarantee that, inshallah, he probably by now speaks fluent Hebrew. So, I can understand how he spoke all these languages because he lived in Malaysia for a while. He spoke French, he spoke Arabic and English. But how did he learn Spanish? I'll tell you later on how he learned Spanish. He memorized the entire Quran. So he's not just a nerd in the dunya, but he memorized the entire Quran. But his recitation is so superb that in his home country, which will go unnamed, they have recorded the entire Mus'haf in his voice, and they play it on the radio, and they sell it as a set. His recitation is really, really beautiful. So you think, okay, well, he memorized the Quran, he speaks languages, probably doesn't have a lot of Islamic knowledge. A trustworthy source who sat with him and knows him well, he said his level of knowledge is just a little bit below that of a scholar. Almost a scholar in his knowledge of Islam. So you might think, well, you know, a lot of sports youth in here. Well, at least I've got one advantage over him. I can beat him up, right? Because that's what happens when someone is better than you academically. Will say, well, I can knock him out. So I still have that edge over him, right? Sisters probably don't understand what we're talking about, unless you go around knocking each other out as well. But he was on the national diving team. You know those folks, they get off and they do flips, and he used to be on his national diving team. Until now, he can bench press over 350 pounds. He has a second-degree black belt in Aikido, and he spent 6 months with the samurai in Japan. So he'll beat you up, okay? Now, and he's very well read in history, in politics, in geography, and he can comment on about any topic that you give him. I used to enjoy my time very much with this man. So the question is, how did Dr. H become like this? And when did he become like this? Do you think he waited until he was 35, suddenly he started, okay, give me all the books, I don't have much time. He starts to read. When do you think he started? Yes, sir. When do you think he started? Go ahead. Oh, brother said 4. He started very early. He would tell me that, he used to love to read so much that his parents would send him to bed. He would be under the cover with a book reading until 3 a.m. every single night. And until now he does that. Now, let me get back to why the man knows how to speak Spanish. I understand why he speaks all these other languages. So I asked him, how did you learn to speak Spanish then? You know what he said? Listen up, people. Listen up, Mr. Halo over there. He said, during the week, from diving class to training, to language, to Quran, to Islamic studies, to school, I found that I have 1 free hour during the week. So what would you do in this hour? Break out the Xbox, of course. Start playing till your thumbs become blistered. No. He said, I have 1 free hour, I can't waste it. He went and signed up for Spanish class. Right. So the question was, how old do you think, or when do you think he started? He started as a young man. And most people who are something today, most of the time, they are people who started when they were young. They were serious when they were young. They cared about their time when they were young. Not like what we have today. When you're young, you just try to find free time to waste somehow. Watching a movie, listening to music, playing a video game, overdoing it with sports, whatever it is. I want to share with you my favorite story of a young man who is serious about knowledge. My favorite story. Maybe I said it before. With Imam Malik and the young boy. Did I tell it to you before? Okay. So Imam Malik, rahimahullah, was a great scholar of Medina, and he had a halaqah in the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And a lot of people would sit in his gatherings. Some of them were scholars, some were young, some were old people, but everybody would sit. And nobody would open their mouth, nobody would argue. They would just sit down, and the sheikh was very serious. He would teach them, and they would write. Scholars, young men, old men, everybody. It is said one day, while he's teaching his class, someone pushed the doors of the masjid open, and he yelled out to everybody, "Feed! An elephant." So now, of course, you imagine, people back then, they had never seen an elephant. They didn't have internet, they didn't have magazines or television, but they know Surat Al-Fil, and they know the description of this animal, that it's much, much bigger than a camel, much bigger in size, taller, and it's gray and has thick skin. What if you've all seen an elephant, but what if I tell you there's an animal that has a long nose, and this nose can pull things out of the ground, can even pull trees out of the ground. You can't even imagine what it looks like. And it has huge ears. What will you imagine it to look like? And all you've seen, cows and camels and goats and sheep. So everybody wanted to see what an elephant looked like. So the man pushed the doors of the masjid open. He yelled out, "Field, there's a field, an elephant in Medina." Everybody left the gathering. Scholars, people with big beards, everybody's running out to see what the elephant looks like. Except for and the Imam didn't give them permission to leave. They all respect him very much. He didn't say you can leave. Everybody just ran out and left. So the Imam turned suddenly, in a few seconds, the gathering is empty, the masjid is empty. He looks and he finds this little boy sitting down. He still has his pen and paper. So the Imam was surprised, and grown men, scholars ran out. This little boy is still here. So he asked the little boy, he said, "Why didn't you get up to see the elephant?" This young boy said to him, "I didn't come here to Medina to see the elephant, but I came to see you." Nobody's affected, huh? Let me say that one more time, pretend that you're really moved by that. Okay? So the little boy said, "I didn't come here to Medina to see the elephant, but I came here to see you." Thank you. I don't know what's wrong with the brothers. Oh, you guys are hard. Forgot about that. Oh, hard and stuff. You guys better quit that hard stuff. I'm telling you right now. Stop it. All right. So, this young boy cared so much about knowledge. Let me tell you something. Right now, every single one in this room, you've seen what an elephant looks like, right? If somebody burst open those doors right now and said there's an elephant in the parking lot, how many of you would leave to go see the elephant? I think a lot of people would leave their room. And we've all seen elephants before. But we'll all go see what he's doing in the parking lot. Seriousness, people. Wallahi, we need to be serious about everything that we do. So, like the example with Dr. H that I gave, he was a young man, but he cared about his time. He didn't want to waste his time. He felt the value of time, and that's something you do investing in the future. Because in the future, you reap the benefits of how many courses you took and how many skills you gained and attained. But now young people, all they think about is fun. All they think about is fun. Can't wait till we have a few minutes free so we can kill that time. Sports, video clips on the internet, or watching, movies, or just exaggerating in one thing or another. And this is something that in the West, people tend to go overboard. When they love something, they love it too much. And they go overboard with it. And that's all they talk about. And they have posters of it, and they wear t-shirts, and it's all over their everything. They go overboard with things. So, most people that have free time, they want to kill that time. Find a way to spend that time. Always I hear kids talking about, I'm bored. You give them a lecture, I'm bored. You give them a course, I'm bored. Oh, sweetheart, what do you want me to do for you? Always bored. I got to jump through hoops to keep people entertained now so you can tell them a few words about the Prophet ﷺ. I have to come in here in a clown car. 6 shuyukh come out of the car just to entertain people. Okay. But a lot of youth, and this is a huge majority of youth, their dreams to become a professional athlete. That's it. Every time I'm in a class, I'm going to spare you the embarrassment here, but every time I'm in a class, I ask, who wants to become a doctor? One guy's like, he barely can put his arm up. Then, who wants to become an athlete? Basketball, these guys. Football, these guys. And this is, studies have been done about this, where with a lot of youth, and this is in the US, especially African American youth, the majority of them want to become professional athletes. And because of that, they don't care for school very much. Because they're sure, so-and-so, he's contracted, he makes a couple of million a year, and he doesn't look like a very smart person, so I can be also not very intelligent, but good in my sport, and that's it, I'll make it in the business. That's all they want. You can be that athlete on the side, but also a medical doctor. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. And you also have to have a backup plan. So what if I don't become the NBA star or whatever it is? I have some knowledge to fall back on. I was bouncing a ball all my life, and I put all my eggs in that basket. I'm going to be a basketball player. Then Allah decrees you have some kind of accident. May Allah protect you. Say Ameen. And then what? What happens to plan A? There is no plan B. So, I don't have any specific. Let me see if we have time in the end. You can tell me if there are any specific obstacles that you want us to discuss together. But really, if you spend time studying, you can do it. It's not difficult. I'll tell you why. Okay? Here's the secret. These courses in middle school, elementary school, high school, college, universities, they were designed so that anybody can pass these courses with a certain amount of studying time. That's it. It can't be that difficult. It was designed so that the average person can pass. But you just have to put the effort into it. That's it. So it's not like you expect me to tell you some kind of miraculous words or how to become an A student or anything like that. But the courses were made so that the average person can pass. They're not that difficult. You just have to put the time into it. That's it. So one of the things that means is that you have to discipline yourself, to force yourself to organize your own time, to stay away from distractions, because there's so many distractions. I know of so many brothers who talk about how busy they are, like they don't have a minute to spare. Oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time. They tell me, can you do this for the da'wah? We need someone to design this. No, I'm too busy. You think they're flying from London to Paris and then they've got things to do. And then they tell you about, last night I was watching this movie and, you have time to watch movies. Oh, that's sweet. How long was that movie? 2 hours? I hope it wasn't Lord of the Rings, 3 hours or whatever you spend watching that ugly guy roll around the floor. And then they told you you're so busy. It's about organizing time, people. It's about discipline. In the month of Ramadan that's coming up in a few days, inshallah, we're supposed to learn discipline. You're supposed to learn discipline. Take that as a stepping stone to the change that you will make for the rest of your life. Because if you can stop yourself from doing things that you really need, like eating and drinking, then you can definitely stop yourself from other things that are not essential to your survival. So, I want to talk about something called ihsan or itqan. And this is like a characteristic or a mannerism that we're lacking severely in our communities, and we're lacking severely in our ummah. Ihsan or itqan. And that is when you do the best that you can with whatever task that's in front of you, whether it's studies, whether you're fixing something, whether you're building something, or you're starting a business, whatever it is, that you do your best in it. Itqan, that you perfect it to the best of your ability. Anyone heard of this before? Itqan or ihsan? So I was right when I said it doesn't exist very much in our... I hate to say this, but when you enter like a regular restaurant, the chairs are clean, the floor is clean, the tables are clean. Enter a Muslim business, what does it look like? I mean, I really hate to say that. You think I enjoy making fun of Muslims? But the walls are chipped, the menu is busted up and torn, the chairs are chipped, the table's wobbling, everything is busted up, the guy is not dressed well, and on top of that they give you the brother treatment. You know why? Because he's a brother, They give you the brother treatment. Kafir is standing right behind you, they serve him before you. Yes, sir. I don't see anybody in front of me. Move you. Yes. The brother treatment you get. No itqan, no ihsan. It's sad. It's disappointing. So, look at how the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ إِذَا عَمِلَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَمَلًا أَنْ يُتْقِنَهُ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves when one of you does something, that he perfects it, that he does it to the best of his ability or her ability. So listen to the hadith one more time, okay? Focus. Allah loves, okay? And the hadith is not talking about just praying and just fasting and doing it. If any of you does anything, any work or any deed, that you do it to the best of your ability. So Allah loves it. If you're fixing a table, you do it to the best of your ability. Allah loves it. If you're hanging a picture up, you do it to the best of your ability. That if you're praying, you do it to the best of your ability. Whatever it is, that you do it to the best of your ability. This is a khuluq. This is part of our religion. This is something Allah loves, people. It's very strange that this khuluq is part of our deen, and we're of the that least care about this. And of course, you're starting to see, inshallah, how this relates to studies. How can it be everybody's, working hard in school, they're bringing apples to Miss Winkleberry, they're putting marks on their bookmarks, highlighting points, talking about the instructor about this point. Where are the Muslims? They're over there. Acting like thugs, sitting, not smiling, and skipping class, talking about how they're going to, become excellent athletes. And then I heard something from a brother today that even to become an athlete in the school, you have to have a certain grade level. You have to reach a certain grade level. And so many of the good athletes didn't make the grade, so it actually at one point even canceled the team. So which team is this that's going to propel you forward? And it's a good thing that they did. They linked your athletic ability to your academic ability. So even if you want to, and if someone said, look, I want to become an athlete, at least do the other side that will help you become an athlete. And it's sad. The person's goal is to become an athlete, but he doesn't do something that's necessary to that goal. So what kind of planning is that? So, ihsan, Allah loves if one of you does anything, that he does it to the best of the ability. Whatever type of work it is. If you're fixing something, if you're getting a degree in school, if you're building something, whatever it is, you do it to the best of your ability. And even if it's part of the things of the dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would love that you do it to the best of your ability. And this is when it translates to school, people want to do the bare minimum. They want to do the bare minimum. They just pass with C's or B's. Even in school, I hear people commenting about which they suggest to each other which course to take. They tell them, take this course. The professor is easy. You can get an easy A. That's all you want? You don't want to learn anything? You're going to make your parents pay so much money, or you're going to fall into so much debt and not going to learn anything in the end? You know, I always wonder at the people who sell their textbook. This is when you go to a college. The people who sell their textbook at the end of the year. Okay. What does that say? A Q&A? Okay. How are you going to sell that knowledge? You pay $800 or whatever more for a course, then at the end you sell the textbook and all the knowledge evaporates. No one cares anymore. But I have like 5 minutes left. So, I just want to mention one hadith concerning itqan here, doing something to the best of your ability, where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded ihsan in everything, that you do a good job in everything. So if you kill, then do that in a good way, meaning you're going to kill a sheep or something, you do it in the best way. And if you slaughter in the best way. And one of you should sharpen his knife, and he should put his animal at ease. I want you to think, why did the Prophet ﷺ use this example of sharpening the knife and putting the animal at ease? First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded in all things that it will be done according to the best of your ability. That's the first thing. The second thing, the Prophet ﷺ is giving an example with killing a sheep or a goat or an animal. Who cares if you make ihsan at this point or not? It's going to die. I mean, even if you let it suffer for like 2 minutes, in 2 minutes it's not going to exist anymore. It's not like they bring you a sheep with a broken limb and they say you have to do a surgery and you have to do a good job because it's going to live after that based on how you operate now. You understand what I'm saying? You're killing this animal, it's not going to exist in a few minutes. Even then, you're commanded to do ihsan, people. Even then. One time the Prophet ﷺ saw a man, he had tied the sheep and he put it down to be slaughtered, and then he starts to sharpen his knife in front of the animal. So the Prophet ﷺ, he tells him, do you want to kill this animal twice? He says, how do you mean? He says, you should sharpen your knife away from the animal and then bring it and lie it down and tie it like that. Not put it down while it's in the state of fear and you're sharpening the tool that you're going to kill it with in front of the animal. Even in a time of death, ihsan is required. So, your parents, all they care about is your education. Your father working so hard, so you go to school. What do? You skip class. All that they're doing now in the stuff, and we think it's easy, waking up in the morning, going to work all day and all night. You know, our parents in this generation, they break their back trying to make your life easy, and you won't even give them back. Oh, is that right? Okay. Right. I have great news. I've been given more time. Some of you are like, oh, I want to go, yaakhi. But I'm wrapping up anyway, so. Okay, people. So, ihsan in speaking to people, using the right words, proper respect. Someone's older than you, proper respect. Ihsan in listening, with school, with your education, when you're fixing something, when you're washing the dishes. You know what? So many people, they don't do a good job with anything. Sweep the floor, they're missing things all over the place. Wash the dishes, they're missing huge things. I guarantee some people in this room, their mother doesn't like it when they wash the dishes. Right or wrong? I was going to say some sisters, but let's just say everybody in the room. Your mother hates it when you do the dishes. Because there's stuff stuck all over the plates and the cups still. Because you do a poor job. No, people, it's part of your deen. Everything you do it to the best of your ability. When I wash dishes, I do a superb job. I'm serious. When I clean my car, I do a superb job. Okay. Of course, my wife doesn't agree with me, but who cares, huh? Okay, let's just mention You know, like I said, the schools and the courses in school, they're made so that the average person can pass. And the average person can make it through middle school and make it through high school, make it through college even. That's how it is, the average person. And inshallah, all of you are above average. So, very simple things that if you do, no matter what the challenge is, that you can take care of whatever course is in front of you. One, listen. When your professor or your teacher is speaking, listen. And this is a huge problem now. A lot of people have severe listening problems. And many people have ADD and ADHD. And many people don't have those, but they still don't listen. Because you have to train yourself to listen. So always sit in the front of the class. I don't understand why people sit in the back of the class. You're paying for these courses, or these courses are related to your future. You sit in the front. So you give the teacher your undivided attention. So try to train yourself to listen. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of people, the majority of people, and if you pay attention to this, you will see it's the truth. The majority of people do not listen. Everywhere. Here, there, this conference, this community, people don't listen. I've been here since yesterday, and people will ask me questions, and they don't listen for the answer, and I see them. They'll ask me a question, I'm giving them the answer, they're not listening. I can see it in their eyes. Especially because when I say something, they don't even let it sink in. They're asking another question immediately. So train yourself to listen. Sit in the front of the class, it will help you listen. And come to the class willing to learn. A lot of times people, they say, well, this is some, dunya knowledge, or this is a kafir. They just come to hear what the professor will say. You don't come with the ability and the willingness to listen. So do that. So number one, listen. Number two, take notes. And I think I tell you this every year, that you should take notes. When you listen to a lecture, you should take notes. How many people are taking notes right now? Show of hands, please. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a very, very small number. Like in that whole section, one guy put his hand up. That's it. This is a problem. A lot of good lectures coming up here. Take notes. Sheikh Bilal Phillips is here, people. Takbir. Just kidding. Who's taking notes? You know what happens? A lot of young people, especially, are confused between understanding and memorizing. Remember we said that last year? People don't take notes, they forget everything that's said. The minute you leave this room, you're going to forget 25% of everything that I said. 8 hours later, you're going to forget 50% of everything that was said right now. And then whatever you retain, 20 to 30% of it will be incorrect. So what are you left with? To some degree, it's as if you wasted time. Take notes, people. So one, learn to listen. And it might take you some training to pay attention. You're going to pay attention, suddenly you're going to start drifting away. Slam dunks, video games, come back again. Slam dunks, video games, come back again. Slam dunks, video games, come back again. So train yourself to listen. Number two, take notes. All the important things that the professor or your teacher is saying, write it down. Because when you go home, you're not going to have any of it left. And your notes will supplement what's in the textbook. Am I right or wrong? Okay. And then the third thing, review or study. So if you're not going to study, now you're just going to review what happened in that class. And you can do it wherever you are. Just review your notes at least once before the next class. It's not so difficult. It might take you 10 minutes, just 10 minutes to read over everything that you've done. You can do that in the commercials as you're watching an episode of Pokemon or something. All right, people, I know you're bored. I can see it. You know, even your social standing has a lot to do with your education. Even if you say, I don't want to become anything, I just want to become a sheikh, go around giving da'wah and talking to people. Even then, when you give da'wah and you're a doctor, people love that. Your community loves that more. See, if I were a doctor right now, you would be listening a little bit better to me. And I would be speaking to you looking over my glasses like this. That's how doctors do it. Anybody who speaks like this, you know is a doctor. So, virtually, what we're referring to, you see? But I don't speak like that, because I don't have a PhD. But if it makes you more credible, more effective as a da'iyah, then do it. If your education will make you more effective and it will to some degree have an impact on your standing in the community, then you have to do it. Third, last piece of advice, try to find companions who have good study habits as well. I know an intelligent man who isn't very good with studies. He basically became friends with the person, the valedictorian of the class. He did it on purpose so he could gain good study habits from the person. And he got very good grades the next year. But I was proud of that person. That's very intelligent of him. So he had very bad study habits. All his friends just want to hang out and talk and stuff and be hard and all that. But he went and he became friends with this super nerd, and some of the study habits of that person rubbed off on him. And he was more serious that year. So make sure your friends are like that as well. There's friends that encourage you to skip class. You try to change them, but don't let them change you. Okay, and so pay attention, take good notes, do a quick review or just a quick read over your notes. Try to organize your time. Not everything is going to be fun and running around. Because in the end, when you grow up and you grow a little older, you're going to find that all the fun you had is gone. Right now, I ask you, all the fun that you had in your life, can you draw on it right now, pull it in front of you and laugh again? It's gone. It's gone, people. You can't spend your whole life doing something that's going to be gone in a few hours. It's not there anymore. Anyways, and I want to tell you in the end, to not belittle any career. Do not belittle any career. I was very proud of a brother who was driving me over here, and he was telling me that he's actually now studying so he could become from the border patrol. But his reason, I loved it. He said, one time my mother and I came at the airport and my mother was niqab and we were harassed. So I felt I should join this team so I can make a difference. You know, I told him I met a brother in the US who's with the police force. Just this one man made a huge difference. Made a huge difference. They were in a seminar and they were about to teach all the police officers how to spot an extremist Muslim. And the guy starts describing a regular Muslim. He's got a beard, he may have a mark here. Everybody's going to be in trouble. This is an extremist now? So this guy got up instead of in front of everybody and said, well, by your definition, I'm an extremist. So suddenly he discredited that person, that Muslim hater. One man, he changed the entire police force. But at least this young man, he saw something, he wanted to make a change. And we always talk about change and we talk about the future of Islam in the West, but we're not doing anything. And our youth are skipping school. And then when they're in charge, it's going to be a nightmare. I'm personally going to pack and ship off somewhere else. All right, people. Is there any time left? 10 minutes? But what I'll do, I'll end here, and there might be a specific issue or concern that you have dealing with studies. So if that's the case, then I'll leave time for you to ask your specific questions. Sallallahu wa barak ala Muhammad. Okay. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.